Let's start with a big idea. What if your body's cells had a factory reset button? I mean, what if you could take any old cell, say a skin cell or a blood cell, and just rewind its biological clock, turn it back into the ultimate master cell that could become literally anything? It sounds like something out of a movie, but it's one of the most exciting frontiers in medicine today.
So that's what we're diving into today. We're going to look at two sides of this amazing coin. First, we'll explore the elegant and very strict rules nature uses to manage these master cells. Then we'll see how scientists are learning to hack the system and rewrite those rules in the lab. And as you'll see, that comes with incredible promise, but also some pretty serious risks.
Okay, so before we go any further, we need to get on the same page. Let's talk about the absolute star of this show, the body's master cell. It's called a pluripotent stem cell. Now that's a fancy term, but what it does is actually pretty simple to grasp. It has two superpowers. First, it can make endless copies of itself. It's basically immortal. And second, it can become any other type of cell. A neuron, a heart cell, a liver cell, you name it. It is the ultimate blank slate from which every single part of you is built.
Now, here's where it gets really interesting. This whole setup creates a constant dilemma for the body. Every single one of these stem cells is always facing a choice. Do I differentiate, turn into a new neuron to help out the brain? Or do I stay put? Do I maintain my status as a stem cell to make sure the reserves are stocked for the future? Get that balance right, and you've got a system that can repair itself for a lifetime. But if you get it wrong, the whole thing collapses. So that begs a huge question, right? How does nature solve this puzzle? How does a super complex organ like the brain manage to keep a supply of stem cells on hand for an entire lifetime without just using them all up? Well, it turns out it has a built-in molecular pause button. And that pause button is a pathway called notch signaling. The easiest way to think about it is like a very strict supervisor for these neural stem cells. Its main job is to constantly tell them, hey, hold on, not yet. Stay as a stem cell. It's actively putting the brakes on, preserving that precious pool of cells for the long haul.
So how do we know this for sure? Well, scientists designed this really elegant experiment. They asked a simple question: what happens if we just break the pause button? So they engineered mice that were missing a critical gene called RBPJ. Without it, the notch signal just doesn't work. In effect, the supervisor was off duty, and the stem cells could do whatever they wanted.
And the initial results were dramatic. At first, it looked like a huge success. On the left, you see a normal mouse brain after 3 weeks, making new cells at a steady pace. But on the right, the mouse without the pause button, wow! It's just an explosion of new green cells. With no one telling them to wait, all the stem cells went into overdrive, creating this massive, short-term cellular boom. But, and this is a huge but, let's fast forward to 3 months later. The normal mouse on the left is still chugging along, still making those new green cells. Now look at the mutant mouse on the right. There's almost nothing. The boom led to a total bust. By differentiating all at once, they completely exhausted the stem cell pool. The brain literally lost its ability to make new neurons. The well ran dry. And that's the huge takeaway here. Nature's pause button isn't just some neat feature. It is absolutely essential. Maintenance is the whole game. Without that control, the entire system just burns itself out. Okay, so we've seen how elegant and vital nature's control system is. Now, let's shift gears. What happens when we try to take control and build our own reset button?
This brings us to a discovery so groundbreaking it won Shinya Yamanaka the Nobel Prize in 2012. He proved that you don't actually need an embryo to get these amazing master cells. He figured out how to take a mature, specialized cell and reprogram it, turning the clock all the way back. These are called induced pluripotent stem cells, or iPSCs for short. The process itself is kind of like a biological recipe. You start with ordinary cells, maybe from a skin biopsy. Then, using a vector, like a modified harmless virus, you introduce a cocktail of 4 very specific genes into them. After growing these cells in a special culture for a while, a tiny, tiny fraction of them do something remarkable. They just revert. They turn back into those powerful stem cells. And these are the 4 magic ingredients. They're famously known now as the Yamanaka factors. Think of these 4 genes, OCT4, SOX2, KLF4, and CMYC, as the specific lines of code needed for that factory reset. When you put them all together into a mature cell, they work as a team to systematically overwrite its identity, restoring it to that powerful, pluripotent state.
So you can see why this technology is an absolute game changer. But like any tool this powerful, it's a double-edged sword. It comes with enormous potential and some significant risks. The promise is just breathtaking. Imagine generating perfectly matched transplant tissue for a patient with zero chance of immune rejection, or modeling your specific version of a disease in a petri dish to find the perfect drug for you. But the perils are just as serious. One of those Yamanaka factors, c-Myc, is a known oncogene, meaning it can cause cancer. The process itself can also be incomplete, leaving you with weird, unstable cells. It's a real tightrope walk. And on top of those safety concerns, there's the staggering inefficiency. In the early days, the success rate for this process was as low as 0.01%. Let that sink in. That's like trying a recipe 10,000 times just to have it work once. That was the scale of the challenge scientists were up against. So, this brings us full circle. On one hand, we have nature's perfectly controlled, safe system. And on the other, we have our powerful but kind of risky artificial one. The future, clearly, is all about bringing them together. So the central question for the entire field right now is this: how can we use the lessons from nature's pause button, that elegant notch pathway, to make our artificial reset button safer, more reliable, and more efficient? And the answer seems pretty clear. By studying the intricate checks and balances that nature has perfected over millennia, how it knows when to pause, when to go, how to stay stable, we can learn to build those same safety features into our own methods. Mastering our own biology begins by first respecting its rules. Ultimately, when you step back, we are at a really profound moment. For the first time in history, we're not just reading the code of life, we are actually learning how to write it. The possibilities are truly limitless, and the responsibility that comes with that is immense. So the question for all of us is, what kind of future are we going to choose to build with this incredible knowledge?